Okay, let's hope so. We'll hear on chat from people if we are live. I'm also checking on my phone. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, yeah, we're live now. All right, people, we are live, I think. Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Just give me 1 minute, okay? My camera position is not the best today. Just give me 1 minute. Feel like it'll still overlap, but that's okay. Shouldn't overlap with much of the content. Okay. All right, people. So we are live. Good to see all of you. All right. Sorry about the delay. There was some technical issue with YouTube. It's always a little annoying, right? I was complaining about the lag, and then the video just refused to start. I shouldn't be complaining from next time. I think that's the lesson. Anyway, thank you for joining in. Good evening, everyone. I'm personally very excited about this session because it's Para Jumbles and it's verbal ability. Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm excited. That'll be clear in a couple of minutes. But yeah, welcome everyone. Very quickly, my name is Jatin. If you don't know me, my name is Jatin. I'm the head of VRC, Verbal Ability and Reading Comprehension at 2IM CAT Preparation. So I take care of the whole content development and training delivery for VRC. Okay. Yeah, I'm very, very passionate about VRC. I mean, come on, that's my job. So I love teaching, I love English, and hence I love VRC. All right. And specifically in VRC, I love verbal ability. Okay, I'll tell you why. Okay, awesome. So I hope you folks are excited. All right. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. This is a part of the Blitzkrieg series that we do, right? If you're a 2IM student, I'm sure you're aware of it, but if you're not, we do a Blitzkrieg series in both Quant and VRC. Typically, the Quant series happens on Sunday, every Sunday from 6 to 7:30. Today, I just decided to take it over. I was like, enough of Quant, let's do VRC Para Jumbles, right? So I took it over, and I'm excited to be here. All right, let's continue. So before we start, just very quickly, I wanted to talk about this. If you're a 2023 aspirant, okay, if you're looking to give CAT in 2023, okay, it's a great time to start your preparation. Of course, you're about 14 months away from CAT 23, right? If you start now, you're starting early, that gives you ample time to master your basics. And basics are critical for CAT. Okay, there are a bunch of 22 students here on chat, and they will confirm for you how important basics are, right? So if you start now, you can start gradually, master your basics, and then go to advanced topics, right? So if you're looking to join a course where we have excellent CAT 23 courses, both live and self-paced, okay? And till tonight, we are giving a 5,000 off on that, up to 5,000 off on our courses. So this discount is applicable to live courses as well as self-paced courses. Okay, so this discount window ends tonight. If you're interested in joining our course, feel free to call us after the session, not during the session, or check out the link which will be sent on chat, and you can check out the details, call us up, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you about our courses or MBA or CAT in general. All right, fantastic. Now, if you're a 22 student, if you're a 2IM student, you can stop listening to me for the next 1 minute. But if you're not a 2IM student, I just have one announcement for you. So we have a self-paced crash course. Okay, now see, let's say if you're somebody who's starting your preparation seriously now, okay, self-paced would be the best option for you because you can't attend like 50 live classes. It's not possible. But in the self-paced crash course that we have for 22, what we're doing is we have just today added the arithmetic module. Okay, so if you join our self-paced crash course, you will also get to attend live classes for arithmetic. So your entire arithmetic course will be covered in October in the form of live classes. And that's an additional bonus that we're giving to you if you join our self-paced crash course. All right. So apart from the entire content that is given to you in the form of recorded videos, now you'll also have arithmetic classes. GDPI training is also included. Mocks are also included. All right. So if you're interested in that, the course is priced at rupees 9,000. All right. The link will be sent to you on chat. You can visit that. You can register. or you can call us on this number and we'll give you the details. Okay, awesome. All right, so now that's out of the way. Let's get started. Okay, with the topic that you're here for. All right. Okay, so this is Blitzkrieg. We'll just process of Blitzkrieg. We'll just ignore it. All right, now somebody in chat says Para Jumbles is my weakest part. I feel atrocious. Vivek, why should you feel atrocious about this? I mean, if Para Jumbles is your weakest part, it is your weakest part. I mean, it's not like Para Jumbles is super easy, right? It's not. It requires a lot of practice. But the good thing, Vivek, is one, you're attending the session, so I hope you'll come out stronger. And second, I really hope you go back and practice, okay, for a lot of Para Jumble question. And believe me, in the 2 months that you have, you can do really well, okay? Sanskriti, obviously, right? Folks, 2IIM students, don't worry about anything, okay? All of that I said is already included in your course, okay? The arithmetic classes will be available to each one of you. So don't worry about it. Whether you're a live course student or a self-paced course student, okay? You don't have to do anything. That was for non-2IIM students, okay? So Sanskriti, that will be available for you. All right? Okay, people, let's get started. Now, Para Jumble strategy. I'm going to spend a bit of a time on strategy before we start solving questions. Now, folks, this is more important than the questions, okay? Because the questions are fine, we'll solve it. Some of you might have seen 21 questions already. Obviously, your questions in the exam are going to be new. So what is important is that you have master your strategy. All right, let's talk about this. Now, number one, what you have to understand about Para Jumbles is the crux of Para Jumbles is flow of content. Okay, flow of content where in the paragraph. Obviously, my writing is atrocious. Okay, Vivek, I think if there's anything atrocious, it's my writing, not the fact that you are not good at Para Jumbles. Flow of content in the paragraph. That is, people remember, this is the crux of Para Jumbles. What are you trying to do in Para Jumbles? You're given a paragraph broken into 4 sentences. You have to rearrange it. Every paragraph, any paragraph that's written well has a flow. See, what is a paragraph? Paragraph is a unit of writing. Generally, it has one idea elaborated into several aspects. And there is a flow in those aspects. There is a natural flow if the writer is good. Okay? And most of these paragraphs that you see in CAT, all of these paragraphs are picked from real world articles. They pick that, they jumble up the sentences, they give it to you. Right? So, and they pick it from good quality writing. You'll never see a badly written piece in CAT. That's not going to happen. Right? So, any good paragraph will have a natural flow of content, which is what you have to keep in mind. When you're trying to solve Para Jumbles, of course, we'll look at the strategy. But remember, this is the crux, flow of content. Okay? Keep that in mind. And of course, I'll demonstrate that later. Okay? All right. Abhishek, I'll answer your question later. I'll answer your question at the end. Flow of content in the para. Okay, now what is the strategy? One, there's a 3-step strategy that I want you to keep in mind. First of all, try to identify the starter statement. Okay, try to identify the starter statement. Now, what does that mean? The statement that begins the paragraph. Okay, try to identify it. If you're able to identify the starter statement, 50% of your job is done. That Para Jumble will become manageable. If you're not able to identify the starter statement, which will happen in several cases, it's fine. But we start with that. Okay. Now, what are the indicators to identify a starter statement? Starter statements are generic or broad statements. Okay. Generic or broad statements are starter statements. And I'll demonstrate that as well. Second indicator is no pronouns. Okay, now these are indicators. There are no rules in Para Jumbles or VRC. These are guidelines. But generally, a generic broad statement with no pronouns can be a starter statement. Is a good candidate for a starter statement. Okay, why no pronouns? Because see, what is a pronoun? He, she, it, right? See, usually what happens with pronouns is they'll introduce the character and then they'll refer to the character with the pronoun. So for instance, they say Professor Mary Jones. The paragraph can be about some research that Professor Mary Jones did. First sentence. In the second sentence or the third sentence, the author can use she, which is a pronoun. A pronoun needs a noun to come before that. That's why I'm saying starter statements usually don't have pronouns. Usually. Now see, one thing you have to remember is they're evil question setters. What they do is they pick the para jumble, so you can have like an 8-line paragraph, let's say, real world paragraph. They'll give you the 4 lines from the middle. Now in that case, you can have a situation where the first sentence has a pronoun. It's possible because they picked this up from the middle of a real world paragraph. So that's when it becomes really tricky, but it doesn't happen in most cases. Okay, so please keep that in mind. All right, that's one. So try to identify the starter statement. Second, links and sequences. Okay, now these are internal terms that I use. Please try to understand what are links and sequences. Okay, if you're saying that 2, 4 is a link, okay, what you're saying is that 4 comes after 2, but not necessarily immediately after 2. So link is non-consecutive, and these are internal terms that I use for explanation. So a link is non-consecutive. So we know that 4 will come after 2. We're 100% sure about that. But whether it will come immediately after 2, we're not sure. There can be something in between. So that's a link. It's non-consecutive. But if you're saying it's a sequence, let's say 3, 2 is a sequence, that means you're saying it's consecutive. Okay, so the second step is you try to identify links and sequences. Links are easier to spot, sequences are difficult. But links, even if you get links, you can still solve the question. If you get a sequence, fantastic. But you have to be 100% sure of that sequence. All right, so link again is non-consecutive. Okay, sequence is consecutive. All right. Now, how do you identify links and sequences? There are few guidelines that you can follow. General to specific. Remember, in a paragraph, what will usually happen is there will be a general statement, and then the author will talk about specific aspects. So they can give you a general concept, followed by elaborating on that concept. So they give you specifics. Let's say the first sentence can be about a very generic statement about the city of Jaipur. Jaipur is a beautiful city, followed by specific aspects of Jaipur. Why is it beautiful? What is Jaipur famous for? Right? So general statement followed by specific, intro followed by details. This is one of the way to identify a link and sequence. Keep that in mind. Second is, okay, folks, just give me 1 minute. Sorry about this. All right. Second is noun and pronoun. All right. So you can, first you'll have the noun and followed by pronoun. So Professor Mary Jones followed by she. All right. So that will also help you identify links and sequences. All right. So noun, pronoun, keep that in mind as well. Third is you can have a concept followed by examples. So the author gives you a concept and then the author gives you examples about that. So that is also a flow that you can keep in mind. All right. Okay. What is the other thing that you can keep in mind? Fourth is chronology. So if it's, let's say, a historical passage or any narrative passage, first this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Okay. That's chronology. All right. So that you can keep in mind as well. And finally, what I say is descriptive to non-descriptive phrases. Again, sorry about my writing. This is also something to keep in mind. So for instance, the sentence can start with the political party Bharatiya Janata Party. All right. Now they'll give you the full name of the party, descriptive phrase, followed by in the subsequent sentences, you will see they give you an acronym. Sorry, folks, 1 second. One second, folks. I pressed some key. Come on. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I pressed some key and everything disappeared. Anyway, so coming back to this, what I was saying is that 1 is your starter. Okay. 2 is links and sequences. Okay. In links and sequences, the guideline that I gave you was general to specific, noun to pronoun. Okay. Then you have concept to examples. And finally, I was telling you about descriptive to non-descriptive. So Bharatiya Janata Party and then followed by acronym. Professor Mary Jones followed by just professor. So descriptive to non-descriptive phrases. So that's your second part. And third part, folks, this is where most students make a mistake. Confirm your answer. Now, once you've done 1 and 2, in 3 you might realize that you have two possible options. Okay, is it 3241 or is it 3214? This is where you have to confirm your answer. So write down these two combinations in your notepad that's given to you during the exam and then do a versus. What is better? Is it 3241 or is it 3214? Look at the flow and figure out which one is a better flow. Okay, and then you can pick the one that is better. So do this. The third step is very important. This is where most of the mistakes happen. So make sure you write that in your notepad and do a versus and then punch in the answer and move on. All right. Okay. So very quickly, these are the 3 steps I want you to keep in mind today as well. Remember, you can do 1 and 2 simultaneously. You don't have to do them one by one. So while you're reading the sentence, you can say, okay, is this a starter or not a starter? And in the background, try to identify links and sequences. I will demonstrate that today. Don't forget to confirm your answer. All right. Okay. Now this will become clear when we start solving the questions, which we will in a minute. Okay. All right. Let me check if there are any questions here. 1 second. Should we start with VA first? Okay. Abhishek is asking. Abhishek, there are good question. So this will differ from student to student. Okay. I always say, and this is something that you have to figure out in mocks. You can start with RC or you can start with VA. If you're reasonably good at RCs, start with RC, then go to VA. The reason I'm saying that is solving an RC in a panic mode in the last 5 minutes, it's going to be difficult. Okay, so if you're reasonably good at RCs, start at RC, move to VA. If you're not great at RC, start with VA, move to RCs. Okay, and decide on the time as well. That is also something that you have to figure out in mocks. Okay, one thing that you should not do is that I don't recommend. Okay, should not do. I don't recommend that. Don't go back and forth between RC and VA because you're going to confuse your brain. The cognitive skills required to solve an RC are different from VA. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, okay. Time to attend Para Jumble. Yes, we'll go for that. Okay, let's solve a question. I think you guys are obviously I can understand you want to attempt Para Jumbles. Let's do this. Keep the strategy in mind, folks. Let's go to the first one. Okay, now the PDF of this is available in the description of the video. So if you want to download the PDF and read it, that's also fine. All right, now I'm going to leave you with this question. I'm going to give you some time. I hope you've seen these questions before. That's the whole idea of Blitzkrieg. Okay, that you solve the questions and then come prepared. But go for it. This is from CAT 21 slot 1, the first Para Jumble. We're going to start. This is a tricky one, by the way. Okay, so it's interesting that we're starting with this. Go for it. I'll give you a minute or two and then we'll start discussing. Yes, Harsh, we're starting with a tricky one. That I just followed the order, at least the order that I had. Yeah, it was starting with a tricky one. It is tricky, but go for it. Try it. By the way, folks, when you're done with your answer, just type it in chat. Okay, we can't do a poll obviously here, so just type it in chat. Okay, and it's not a speed contest, so take your time. Pratik, you have a very interesting smiley in your name. Is that for Halloween? Are you preparing for Halloween, Pratik? Okay, I'm getting answers already. Okay, go on, go on. Let's. I'll give you maybe 30, 40 more seconds. Okay, we'll have to do it a little faster, right? Because the whole idea is you should have gone through these questions before that, before the class. Okay. Okay, let's get more answers and then we get started. All right. Okay. So we've gotten a few answers. Let's get started, folks. Okay. Let me see. Let me just write the answers that you guys have given. Some of the answers. Okay. The most common ones that I'm seeing. One second. Okay. So the first answer that I got from was Prashita. Okay. And Prashita says it's 4123. And a lot of you seem to agree with Prashita. Okay. Then Shubhankar said it's 4312. A lot of people are agreeing with Shubhankar as well. Okay, then there is also 4213. I think that was Gaurav. 4213 by Harsh. Siddhi says it's 1243. And then I am also, oh yeah, basically those are the answers that I've gotten. Okay, let's discuss this. Now, folks, what I want you to focus on, of course, the answer is important, but the strategy is more important. See, that's what you need to take away from this session. How to solve these questions so that you can go back and practice with that strategy. And that strategy works. Okay. All right. It's a tested strategy. So yeah, let's do this. What is the first step? We're going to try to identify the starter statement. Second step is in the background, we'll keep identifying links and sequences. Okay. So you have to read each and every sentence properly. Okay. Understand it and then decide starter, not starter, and also links and sequences. All right. Let's start. The work is more than the text. For the text only takes on life when it is realized, and furthermore, the realization is by no means independent of the individual disposition of the reader. All right, it's dense. It's not the most straightforward statement. Okay, it's confusing. It's long and it's a little complex as well. So, okay, let's read it again. The work is more than the text. All right, for the text only takes on life when it is realized, and furthermore, the realization is by no means independent of the individual disposition of the reader. So they seem to be talking about reader and what the reader is reading, the text that the reader is reading, right? Can this be a starter statement? It's possible. Is it broad and generic? It is. Does it have pronouns? It does not. So possible starter statement, okay? So one of the answers was starting with this. So I get why this can be a candidate. I'm just going to write S here. We'll see. The convergence of text and reader, okay, again text and reader, so the theme is coming out, brings the literary work into existence, and this convergence is not to be identified either with the reality of the text or with the individual disposition of the reader. 1 and 2 have commonalities, right? You can see that you might not understand the whole statements, but you can see that they're talking about reader, okay, as one sort of aspect, and then the text in front of the reader. And it's saying the convergence of text and reader brings the literary work into existence. Okay, there is some sort of connection between 1 and 2. Can this be a starter statement? Possible. It is broad. It's okay. We'll write S here. Okay. From this polarity, number 3, from this polarity, what polarity? We don't know. We don't know, right? I mean, this itself tells you that there is a precedent. Can this be a starter statement? Very unlikely. Okay. From this polarity, it follows that the literary work cannot be completely identical with the text or with the realization of the text, but in fact must lie halfway between the two. The theme has emerged, but this can't be a starter statement. Okay, I'm going to say no. Number 4, the literary work has 2 poles, which we might call the artistic and the aesthetic. The artist refers to the text created by the author, and the aesthetic to the realization accomplished by the reader. Okay, now this can also be a starter statement. All right, now we're confused because we see 3 starter statements. That will happen. Are you able to identify a link or a sequence here? Think about it. You would have just read these sentences. There is a link or a sequence emerging. clearly. And I'll tell you why. Because it says this polarity, and the polarity is explained in 4. 4 is clearly telling you the literary work has 2 poles. 1 and 2 poles. Okay. One is artistic, second is aesthetic. And 3 tells you from this polarity, it follows. So 4, 3 is definitely a sequence. Okay, you can say it's a link, but the chances of 4, 3 being a sequence are very high. They connect very well. Okay, so you've already identified a sequence here. You have not identified the starter statement, but you've identified the sequence. Half of your job is done. Okay, now the second half in this case is tricky, but we're going to try. Okay, but we already know that 4, 3 is a sequence. So either it will come in the first half or it will come in the second half. All right, okay, now let's see. So 4 is the starting statement which says literary work has 2 poles. Sorry, rather literary work has 2 poles. 3 is from this polarity. All right. Now what does 1 say? The work is more than the text. For the text only takes on life when it is realized, and furthermore, it's independent of the individual disposition of the reader. All right. Now let's read 3 again. 3 says the literary work cannot be completely identical with the text or with the realization. It should lie halfway. Okay, so let's talk about this. So you have your literary work. 3 is telling you it's not completely identical with the text, which is one aspect. It is not completely identical with the realization of the text. This is the second aspect, but it lies halfway. Now, if you read 1, you will see that 1 comes after 3. Because 3 says it lies halfway between the two. And 1 tells you how is that, elaborates on that part. Work is more than the text. Okay, and realization is by no means independent of the individual disposition of the reader. So you can see that 1 follows 3 because this part is elaborated in 1. Okay, so you have 4, 3, 1. 1 comes after 3, and I've told you it's connected with that. Now let's come to the third step. You are remaining with 2 options. Either it can be 4, 3, 1, 2, okay, or it can be 2, 4, 3, 1. Right? That is the third step, right? You have 2 possible combinations. You figured out that 4, 3, 1 is a sequence. Now 2 will either come afterwards or before 4. Now when you read both the options, 4, 3, 1, 2 makes complete sense. Because 2 is your concluding statement, which says convergence of text and reader brings the literary work into existence. So it connects with 1. So when you read the whole paragraph, you will see 4, 3, 1, 2 makes sense. Okay? Alright. Now see, this is a tricky one. This was actually one of the most trickiest para jumbles in CAT 21. Forget slots. Okay, this was definitely very tricky. So, of course, there are quite a few, very few students would have gotten this right, but it's a theta question. Right? Theta doesn't have negative marking, so you should definitely attempt it. Manda, does that mean you spent 4 minutes on a para jumble? No. Somebody was asking me what is the ideal time on para jumbles. I always say that 2 minutes is what you should keep for a para jumble. If you're close to the answer, 2.5, but not more than that. Because more than that, it's not a good use of your time. You would have rather invested that in some other question and gotten it right. Para jumbles are like if it clicks, it clicks. Otherwise, it won't click. So don't spend an inordinate amount of time. Okay? If you're finding a para jumble tough, right? Spend 30 seconds, spend 1 minute, and you're like, okay, I can't get this answer. Punch something, move on, because there's no negative marking. Okay? All right. So the answer here is definitely 4312. Yes, Harsh, I can understand. It's your head is spinning. It is a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but you will see the other ones are manageable. All right. Okay, folks. I hope this is clear. Now let's go to the second one. Okay, this is a smaller one. Go for it. I'll give you a minute or 2 minutes, and then we'll start. Okay, people, let's, a lot of you have answered. If you haven't answered, feel free to answer now, and I'll start the explanation in a bit. Okay, all right, let me see. So I'm getting a lot of answers. Let me quickly write it down. Okay, 2143 seems to be a very popular choice. Okay, so let's go with that. Then 1432, 2431. Yeah, those are the ones that I've gotten. Okay, all right, let's split between this. Okay, now see, you're giving me 2143 and you're also giving me 1432. That means some of you have thought that 2 can start, some of you can thought that 1 can start. Okay, so let's see that. Now, keep the strategy in mind, folks. We're going to start with the starter statement. In the background, we'll identify links and sequences. You can see the length of sentences are smaller. Okay, this doesn't indicate that the para jumble will be easier. In fact, sometimes longer sentences are good because the author elaborates and describes better. If the sentences are short, it can be complex to understand. That can happen. Same is true for RC paragraphs as well. Okay, let's see. Let's read option by option. A popular response is the exhortation to plant more trees. Now, some of you have chosen this as a starter statement. A popular response is the exhortation to plant more trees. Popular response to what? This is the question that you should be asking yourself. Popular response to what? Do you know that? Do you know that this is a popular response to what? No. That means it's a very strong indicator that there is a precedent to this, which explains what it is and then the response to that. Right? So this is how you need to think. Now again, see, the question said I can pick this sentence from the middle of the paragraph. So 1 can be a starter statement, but very unlikely. You can come back to 1 if there's no other candidate. But if there's another candidate for a starter statement, then it's very unlikely that 1 will be a starter statement. So I would say no. I don't know the popular response to what. So there has to be a precedent here. Okay? All right. I hope that you get this. Let's go to number 2. It seems all but certain that global warming will go well above 2 degrees. Quite how high, no one knows yet. Can this be a starter statement? Yes. It's a fairly generic statement. Okay? It's broad. There are no pronouns. So then it can be a starter statement. So it's talking about global warming. Keep that in mind as well. See, the topic, the theme needs to come out. If you understand the theme, you'll be able to understand the flow or figure out the flow. Okay, so can this be a starter statement? Yes. Burning them releases it. Them, who? Who are we burning? Are we burning Ravan? Are we burning whatever? What? Sorry, I'm just in the Dashera mood. Right? So burning them releases it, which is why the scale of forest fires in the Amazon basin last year garnered headlines. Burning what? We don't know. This can't be a starter statement. Okay, but now you can see it's connected to trees, right? The trees thing came out? Okay. This is because trees sequester carbon by absorbing carbon. This is because. Now, this is because what? This is because what? We don't know. There has to be a precedent, right? So again, this can't be a starter statement. You only have 1 candidate here for a starter statement. Done. Very good. If you're able to identify the starter statement, half of your job is done. That para jumble will become easier. Okay. All right. Let's start with that. So number 2, it seems all but certain that global warming will go well above 2 degrees. Quite how high, no one knows yet. Okay. Now, what can be the next one? A popular response is the exhortation to plant more trees. Popular response to what? Global warming. Exhortation is urging. When you urge someone, you exhort someone. So it's urging people to plant more trees. If this is not a part of your vocabulary, please add it after the session. Look it up. Okay. So 2-1 is a sequence. It goes very well. Now you know that 2-1 is the sequence 2 starts. So now what are the options? 2-1-3-4 or 2-1-4-3. This is your third step, people. Don't forget this. This is where mistakes happen. Okay, write it down in your notepad. You have only 2 combinations now, 2-1-3-4 or 2-1-4-3. Which is better? Talk to yourself. Do a versus. And you gave me that, right? Oh, you didn't really give me that, but you kind of like gave me something different. Okay. Popular response is the exhortation to plant more trees. Burning them. Burning what? Trees. Releases it, which is why the scale of forest fires in the Amazon basin last year garnered the headlines. This is because trees sequester carbon by absorbing carbon dioxide. Now, what can go after 1? Think about it. 1 says a popular response is the exhortation to plant more trees. Why is this the response? That is explained in 4. You are being urged to plant more trees because trees sequester carbon by absorbing carbon dioxide. 2-1-4. Burning trees releases it, which is why the scale of forest fires in the Amazon basin gave you the headlines. The answer is 2143. Quite a few of you were right. Okay, but if you weren't right, don't beat yourself up. Learn the strategy, you'll get better at this. The answer is 2143. All right, now I hope you're catching the strategy, folks. We tried to identify the starter statement. In this one, we got lucky. We tried to identify links and sequences, and we definitely do step number 3. Now, I'll tell you one thing that happens in step number 3. 2143 and 2134 was the combination. With me at least, I notice this pattern in my mocks when I do it. I somehow tend to mess up the last 2 digits. And a lot of my students told me it happens with them as well. Watch out for that. If you know that this is a problem with you and this is a pattern that you need to identify in mocks, then in your third step, you should always check. Let's say your answer is 2143. In your third step, put 2132 in your notepad, do a versus. Confirm your answer, move on. Okay? All right. Okay. Great. I hope this is clear. Abhishek is asking, is this usual or do CAT pages have this level? Abhishek, this is a CAT Para Jumble. Okay, it's all from CAT 21. So, you can expect the same difficulty. Great. Exaltation. Ananya, I've clarified it. Para Jumbles tested in IPMAT. Yes, Harsh, it comes. IPMAT has 3 variations, right? You have your Indore, you have your Rohtak, and you have a JUPMAT. It can come in one of those exams. Okay, and the IPMAT format keeps changing. So, definitely helpful for you. Okay. All right, people, let's start. Let's move on. Now, see, this is a second Para Jumble in slot 1. You saw how first was tricky. This was manageable. Let's look at 3 now. Go for it, people. Okay, Sandeep is saying I was very confused between 1432 and 2143 and randomly chose one because I didn't want to waste any more time on it. Sandeep, that's fine. I get it. Okay. See, 2.5 minutes is what I recommend, right? But if you were close to your answer, Sandeep, what you should have done is in step number 3, write it down and do a versus. Okay. I think that if that's what you do, Sandeep, at the third step, you'll get it. See, most students don't do the third step. Guys, do the third step. I'm telling you, your accuracy will increase. Okay. And this 2.5 minutes is for the CAT exam. Right now, when you're practicing, take 3 minutes, take 4 minutes. But when you come near the exam, you should be spending that much. In practice, obviously, it's going to take more time. Okay. Anyway, let's see. The answers are coming in. Take some more time, folks, and then we'll discuss it. I hope you're having fun. I love Para Jumbles. I'll tell you why. See, it's like a puzzle. Who doesn't love puzzles, right? See, RCs are also fun. I mean, as a teacher, I have to say, oh, RCs are brilliant. They are fun. Okay, let me not do that. RCs are fun, right? But RCs can be lengthening and taxing and tiring and all of that. Para Jumbles that way are quite fun. It's like a puzzle that you have to solve. It's a breath of fresh air in the verbal ability section, right? Prepares you for DLR also, right? Puzzles too. Sorry, no, let me not go into DLR. I'm not qualified to talk about DLR too, but yeah, anyway. But this is fun. I hope you guys find it fun too. Okay, quite a few answers. Let's see. Okay, I'll wait for maybe 3 more answers and then I'll start. Okay, Deep, Tariq, one more. Come on. And then I'll start. Who's next? Okay, we need one more answer, people. Abhishek. Thank you, Abhishek. Okay, so now since Abhishek has answered, I'm going to start discussing. All right. Okay, what are your answers here? Let's see. Ishika started with 2314. Shweta says 2341. Ashna agrees. Gaurav agrees. Shubhankar agrees with one of... No, Shubhankar says 2134. Then let's see if there are more. 2341, 2341. All of you seem to agree that it starts with 2. So there is unanimity there. Okay, there's unanimity here that all of you say that it starts with 2, which is good. I hope you guys are right, all of you. Okay, all right, let's start discussing this. Okay, same strategy. We'll read starter, links, and sequences. Number 1, in the central nervous systems of other animal species, Such a comprehensive regeneration of neurons has not yet been proven beyond doubt. Such a comprehensive regeneration of neurons. Read this. Doesn't this tell you that there is a precedent? What do they mean by such a comprehensive regeneration of neurons? This indicates that this comprehensive regeneration of neurons has been explained before, right? This can't be a starter statement. And you didn't choose it. Well done. Okay. Biologists from the University of Beirut have, is this correct spelling? I don't know. Biologists from the University of Beirut have discovered a uniquely rapid form of regeneration in injured neurons, and they function in the central nervous system of zebrafish. Quite a generic and broad statement. I understand why you picked this. It's very generic, it's very broad, right? Biologists from the University of Beirut. It's very sort of like, it seems like a very nice introductory statement. Okay, this good candidate for starter. Good choice. They studied. Who studied? We don't know. There has to be a precedent. Now you can immediately connect it with biologists, right? They studied the Mothner cells, which are solely responsible for the escape behavior of the fish, and previously regarded as incapable of regeneration. Can't be a starter statement. There's definitely a link between 2 and 3. 2, 3 is a link for now. Can we say it's a sequence? We're not 100% sure. But it's definitely a link. Okay? Alright. However, one second. Oh, sorry. Okay. However, their ability to regenerate crucially depends on the location of the injury. However is a transition word. It needs a precedent. It can't be a starter statement. It's definitely starting from 2. And we've already identified 3 as a link. 2, 3 as a link. Okay. Now let's try to fit other things. Okay. So, biologists have discovered a uniquely rapid form of regeneration in injured neurons, and they function in the central nervous system of zebrafish. How did they do that? They studied the Mothner cells, which are solely responsible for the escape behavior of the fish. 2, 3 is actually a good sequence. Because number 1 introduces that idea. 3 tells you how did the biologists go about doing this. Right? So 2, 3 is the sequence. Very good, whoever picked that up. Okay. Now it says, however, their ability to regenerate crucially depends on the location of the injury. Now, what is this location of the injury connected to? Try to connect the dots. See, 3 says it's responsible for the escape behavior of the fish. Maybe they're talking about escaping from a predator. Right? It can be that. So you can connect the dots and you can see maybe the escape behavior is related to the injury. And also it says, however, their ability to regenerate crucially. This talks about regeneration. Okay, this says that they regenerate, zebrafish. However, their ability to regenerate crucially depends on the location of the injury. So 4 comes here. And 1 follows 4 because this is talking about other animal species. So look at the connection. 2, 3, 4 talks about zebrafish. 1 takes it beyond zebrafish. So you can think about it that maybe after 1, whatever this article was, spoke about other species. 1 is kind of extending that idea. So 2, 3, 4 is about zebrafish. 1 says in other animal species, such a system has not been proven beyond doubt. After 1, this article could have spoken about other animal species. So keep this in mind. Concluding statements bring in another angle. Okay, remember this is just one paragraph that's been given to you. So concluding statement might bring in a new angle, which will be followed up later. Those sentences have not been given to us. Right? So keep that in mind. The answer is 2, 3, 4, 1. All right? Okay, perfect. Good job. Now, folks, keep the strategy in mind. I hope the strategy is clear. We'll go to slot 2 now. Now, a couple of things here that I want to talk about in slot 1. I was telling you verbal ability is very profitable. It is a profitable section. Okay, by the way, folks, I say this, my students have probably heard me saying this 100 times. But for people who haven't heard me saying this, and even if you've heard me, please listen to me. Verbal ability is a very profitable section. Please don't leave it. VARC is not like quant. In quant, you can say, I'm not going to do geometry. I'm not going to do algebra. You still can get a 99 percentile. In VRC, you'll find it very difficult to get a 99 or even a 95 percentile if you skip verbal ability. Don't do that. There is nothing to be skipped in VRC. As in, of course, you skip questions. That's a different thing. But you don't skip sections. So RC, VA, RC is 65 to 70%. So obviously it's a holy grail of VRC, but VA is a solid 30%. And especially if you're not good at RCs, you can get those marks from VA. Please don't ignore it. Okay, it can be very profitable, and you can see this in slot 1. This one was tricky, super tricky, but 2 and 3 was manageable. You could have gotten 6 marks. And that's what happened in 2021. You'll see the pattern in all the slots. 6 out of 9 marks was achievable in 2021 verbal ability. 6 marks is a lot. All right, so keep that in mind. Don't ignore verbal ability. Let's go to slot number 2 now. Okay. Whoa. Okay, this is a long one. Solve it. Okay, Shibi has a question about the last one. Shibi, I'll come back to it. Okay, let's do this, and then I'll come back to it. All right. Okay, people, if you're liking this session, only if you're liking it, please hit the like button. Okay, if you haven't already, it helps us distribute this session to. That's how the YouTube algorithm works, right? And like is also good for my ego. Sometimes I do need an ego boost. Who doesn't, right? So if you're finding this session useful, please like it. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. We do Blitzkrieg every Sunday. Okay. All right, answers have started flowing in. Oh, interesting. The first 6 answers that I've gotten are the same. Okay, very interesting. Now there's a different one. Okay, that's good. Variety is always good. There's another different one. Okay, all right, quite a few answers. Let's get started, folks. Okay, we'll have to pick up a little bit of pace. Okay, what are we seeing here? We are noticing. Okay, I'm going to write the answers. 2143 seems to be a very popular choice. In fact, the first 6 answers that I got, Ashna, Shweta, Janal, Jyoti, Nishant, Tariq, were all 2143. Samarth says it's 4123. Then Ananya says it's 4312. Akash says it's 1243. Deep says it's 2143. Okay, so quite a few variety after that. All right. Okay, let's do this, folks. There seems to be some debate on the starting statement also, so we'll see that. Okay. All right. The US has long maintained that the Northwest Passage is an international strait through which its commercial and military vessels have the right to pass without seeking Canada's permission. All right, it's a fairly broad statement. It can be a starter statement. So some of you have picked one. I can understand why. All right, let's go to number 2. Canada, which officially acquired the group of islands forming the Northwest Passage in 1880, claims sovereignty over all the shipping routes through the passage. Okay, so Canada acquired the group of islands forming the Northwest Passage. So this is telling you how Northwest Passage was formed. And then it claims sovereignty over all the shipping routes through the passage. Now read this statement, okay? See, I told you the crux of Para Jumbles is the flow of ideas, right? Now, when you read 2 talks about, so 1 talks about the Northwest Passage, correct? It says US has long maintained that Northwest Passage is, they don't need Canada's permission. 2 tells you how the Northwest Passage was formed. Now think about it. Which is a better starter statement? Is it 1 or 2? And why is it that? 2 seems like a better starter statement because 2 is telling you how this Northwest Passage was formed. It was formed by Canada officially acquiring the group of islands and now it claims sovereignty. So that way, 2 seems like a better introductory statement because it's broader than 1. All right, I'm just telling you how to think over this. Both are candidates for a starter statement, but between 2 and 1, 2 is more likely. Okay, let's move on. The dispute. What is the dispute? What are we talking about? A dispute, of course, could have been US Canada because that is the dispute is referred to in 1, right? So the dispute is there, but this can't be a starter statement. But let's read it. The dispute could be transitory. However, as scientists speculate that the entire Arctic Ocean will soon be ice free in summer, so ship owners will not have to ask for permission to sail through any of the Northwest Passage routes. Dispute could be transitory. Transitory means temporary. Okay. Okay. Number 4. The US and Canada have never legally The US and Canada have never legally settled the question of access through the passage, but have an agreement whereby the US needs to seek Canada's consent for any transit. See, here it's talking about the dispute. This is also talking about the dispute. Legally settled what? A dispute is legally settled, right? So there is a link or a sequence there. Okay. Now, what is the best starter statement here? As we discussed, 2 is the best starter statement. All right. Okay. Now, before that, so we have, it says Canada, which officially acquired the group of islands forming the Northwest Passage, claims sovereignty. All right. Let's leave that. Let's do. Is there a link or sequence between 3, 4? Think about it. It says the US and Canada have never legally settled. All right. So it's talking about the dispute. 3 says the dispute could be temporary. So before this, the dispute has to be introduced, right? So 4, 3 is a good sequence. All right. Think about it because dispute is spoken about in 4. Now try to connect 1 and 2. Now between 1 and 2, we've already discussed that 2 comes before 1 or 2 is a better statement than 1. So can 2, 1 be a sequence? Think about it. See, 2 says this was how Northwest Passage was formed. Great. 1 says the US has long maintained that the Northwest Passage is an international strait through which it's commercial. So this explains US's stand. Okay. 4 says they have never legally settled the question of access. Okay. The question of access has been introduced in 1 because 1 tells you about US's stand. 4 tells you that this question has never been legally settled. And 3 says the dispute could be temporary because of blah, blah, blah. So 2, 1, 4, 3 is a good combination. All right. Okay. Now some of you picked 4. So 2, 1, 4, 3, we saw that 2, 1 is a good sequence. The people who picked 4 also messed up this part. This is something for you to think about. Okay. 1, 2. Okay, you've reversed that. So think about that. 2, 1, 4, 3 is the answer here. All right. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, people, what I'll do is, in the interest of time, okay, I see that there are a few questions about the previous questions. We'll deal with them at the end. Okay, let's finish all the questions one by one, and then stay back if you have questions. I'm more than happy to explain that towards the end. Okay. All right, I'm just going to write down the answers that I'm getting. Okay, 2413, 4123, 4132. Okay, 4231, 2413 back. Okay, all right. I've written down some answers. Keep solving, folks. Ronak is asking, is solution for LRD and cons also available on the channel? My team will respond to that, Ronak, on chat. Okay, somebody will respond to you, hopefully. All right, but they are available. The answer to your question is yes. They can respond with the link. Okay, I see a 4312 as well. All right, well, people, let's start discussing. Okay, keep the strategy in mind, people. If you don't keep the strategy in mind, then the session is not going to be very useful. So keep that in mind. Starter, links, and sequences, confirm. All right, longer statements here, right? But today there is an epochal challenge to rethink and reconstitute the vision and practice of development as a shared responsibility. A sharing which binds both the agent and the audience, the developed world and the developing, in a bond of shared destiny. But today, but is a transition word. There has to be a precedent. Can this be a starter statement? No. Very unlikely. Okay. Again, you've identified that, but still understand what the sentence is saying. It's talking about development, right? It's talking about the concept of development, that it's a shared responsibility and stuff like that. At least get what the statement is telling you when you're reading it. Just because it's not a starter statement doesn't mean you completely skip it. Read it, understand a little bit, not a starter statement, get the main point, move on. Number two, we are at a crossroads now in a vision and practice of development. Now that main idea is emerging, the theme is about development. You can see that. This is a very broad statement, very broad, and it is a very good candidate for a starter statement, right? So we'll park it. We'll park this, okay? Okay, so this can be a starter statement. Very generic, very broad statement. This calls for the cultivation of an appropriate ethical mode. This calls for what calls for a cultivation? We don't know. What is this? What is this? Very unlikely. This calls for the cultivation of an appropriate ethical mode of being in our lives, which enables us to realize this global and planetary situation of shared living and responsibility. This situation of shared living and responsibility. Shared living was introduced here. 1 said it is a shared responsibility. 3 says this shared living and responsibility. So 1 should come before 3, right? There is a link there. 1, 3 is a link. Okay, let's move on. And this can't be a starter statement because this needs a precedent. Number 4, half a century ago, development began as a hope for a better human possibility. But in the last 50 years, this hope has lost itself in the dreary desert of various kinds of hegemonic applications. Okay, now, can this be a starter statement? Yes, it's possible. Have you identified a sequence? I hope yes. Look at the way 1 connects with 4. 4 says, half a century ago, development began as a hope for better human possibility. But in the last 50 years, this hope has lost itself in hegemonic applications. What does hegemony mean? Hegemony means dominance. Let's say if the US has hegemony in the world, that means US is trying to assert their dominance over other countries. That's what hegemonic applications mean. But even if you don't know what it means, you can see that 4-1 is a sequence. That but connects very well with 4. This is what used to happen half a century ago, but today there is an epochal challenge. Past, present. So 4-1 is definitely a sequence. Okay, now where can 3 go? Look at what 3 is saying. 3 is connected to 1. We already said that 1-3 is a link. Okay, so you have 4-1-3. Right, what we are saying is we know that 4-1 is a sequence. Let me just, okay, I don't want to remove the answers. 4-1 is a sequence. Okay, 1-3 is a link. Now where will you fit 2? Okay, 2 can either go in the beginning, 2 can go between 4-1 and 3, or 2 can go after 3. There are 3 possible combinations here. But now look at the way 2 is structured. We are at a crossroads now in our vision and practice of development. This is the broadest statement out of the 4. Isn't it, people? You're telling me that 4 is a starter statement. A lot of you have given me this, right? Let's look at this combination. 4132. Okay, 413 is fantastic. That's what we have identified as well. You're saying 2 comes at the end. Look at 2. So if you're reading 3, it says 3 gives you the solution, right? 1 tells you the practice of development should be a shared responsibility. 3 tells you this is what needs to be done to implement that. It's sort of a solution. Now read 2. We are at a crossroads now in our vision and practice of development. The solution has already been given to you. 2 doesn't fit very well after 3. I mean, it can go after 3, but it's a better introductory statement. Because 3 has already given you how to implement that. So suddenly you throw in a generic statement after that, doesn't fit very well. And out of all the 4, 2 is the most broadest statement. So the answer is 2413. Okay, all right. Let me see if there are questions about this, and then I'll take like a minute and then move on. I hope you guys understand why this is the case. That placement of 2 is confusing. I understand that. In your third step, write it down. Okay, if you're confused, right, you figured out 413. Now you say, okay, 2413, or is it 4132? Do a versus. Read the statements and then decide. You will see that 2413 makes more sense in terms of the flow. Is it clear, people? Quickly tell me in chat. There is a lag, so I have to wait, but I hope this is clear. And of course, I'll stay back after the session to answer any questions. But this one is a little tricky, so I just want to make sure that you get it. It's a tough one. Sanskriti, I agree. It's tricky, Sanskriti, because of the placement of 2. Okay, but if you do the third step, Sanskriti, 2413 versus 4132, it'll become, the chances of you getting it right are higher. Okay, can I hear from other people if they're okay with this? Folks, you'll have to interact with me. If you're my students, you know this. All right, I won't wait because there's a lag, but I hope this is clear. Let's move to the next one. I'll come back to it at the end. Okay? Okay, solve this. Right, thank you, Nishant, Ananya, for confirming. Right, I always tell my students, I'm somebody, as a teacher, I thrive on interaction. So I need to get that feedback, and YouTube makes it difficult because of that lag. I should stop complaining about YouTube so much. But anyway. Okay, let's start discussing, folks. In the interest of time, I've gotten a few answers. Started with Jyoti saying it's 1423. Akash says it's 3214. Shubhankar says it's 3142. And 1423, I see another few candidates for that as well. Okay, let's start discussing. 3421. 3421 is also there. Okay, great. Let's start discussing. Number one says, look forward a few decades to an invention which can end the energy crisis, change the global economy, and curb climate change. Wow. At a stroke, commercial fusion power. Okay, so it's saying that, okay, look forward a few decades. Like in a few decades, we'll have an invention which will end all of this, which will be the commercial fusion power. It's talking about an invention. Can this be a starter statement? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Okay. Number two, to gain meaningful insights, logic has to be accompanied by asking probing questions of nature through controlled tests, precise observations, and clever analysis. Okay, quite a generic statement and not connected to one, right? It's not connected to one because one says it's talking about an invention in future which will end all of these problems or reduce all of these problems. Two is a very like other generic statement which says logic has to be accompanied by asking probing questions. There seems to be no connection between one and two. Can it be a starter statement? It's possible. Okay, number three, the greatest of all inventions is the Uber invention that has provided the insights on which others depend, the modern scientific method. Okay, so three is talking, and read this statement carefully, people. Focus on punctuations a little bit. Don't go crazy with it, but punctuations do help in comprehension. So see, read the statement properly. The greatest of all inventions is the Uber invention that has provided the insights on which others depend. And what is the greatest of all inventions? Modern scientific method. Look at the colon. Okay, so it's talking about modern scientific method being the greatest of all inventions, or the Uber invention. Nothing to do with Uber taxi. By the way, when I read this the first time, I thought it's talking about Uber, but Uber just generally means the supreme invention, right? So it's nothing to do with Uber as an Uber, taxi. So modern scientific method, greatest of all inventions. That's how the sentence is. Can this be a starter statement? It's possible. Okay. This invention. Now, what invention we don't know. There has to be a link, so this can't be the starter statement. This invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. Oh, it will rest on the application, blah, blah, blah. This invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. Now see, links and sequences. This can either connect to commercial fusion power or it can connect to modern scientific method. It can't connect to modern scientific method because 4 is clearly saying this invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. So it can't connect to 3, it has to connect with 4. Okay, so you can see that 1, 4 is a sequence. All right, because commercial fusion power is inconceivable without the scientific method. Okay, now if commercial fusion power is inconceivable without the scientific method, wouldn't the scientific method come before 1, 4? One second, people. Sorry about this. Sorry, I think there was a bit of a lag in my internet. I should be back now. Okay, so I was saying 1, 4 is a sequence. 4 talks about the scientific method. Scientific method has to come before 1, 4, right? So this 1, 4 will come at the end. Scientific method will come before that. So that rules out 1 as a starter statement. Now you just have to put 2 and 3 in the proper sequence, you'll have the answer. Now the third step will tell you, is it 2, 3, 1, 4 or is it 3, 2, 1, 4? That's what you need to figure out. I hope you understand this. It's very clear that 1, 4 has to come after scientific method. So the two options right now are 2, 3, 1, 4 or 3, 2, 1, 4. Read it and figure it out. 3 is a very good starter statement. The greatest of all inventions is the modern scientific method. 2 explains how does the modern scientific method work. It elaborates on that. Because it says by asking probing questions of nature through controlled tests, precise observations, and clever analysis. You can see that this is talking about the modern scientific method or the scientific method. So it's 3-2 is the sequence, and we've already determined that 1-4 will come after 3-2. So hence the answer is 3-2-1-4. Okay, how 3 and 4 is not a link? Please explain. 3 and 4 is a link, Rahul. 3 and 4 is a link, it's not a sequence. Okay, link is non-consecutive. We know that 4 comes after 3. Okay, but not immediately. Because we have 1-4 which is a sequence. 3-2 is a sequence, and you know that scientific method has to come before the 4. So hence the answer becomes 3-2-1-4. Why not 3-1-4-2? Okay, I thought it was a sequence. Hold on. Why not 3-1-4-2? 1 second. Okay. Harsh, it's not 3-1-4-2. Look at 3 and 2, Harsh. 3 says the greatest, 3 talks about the modern scientific method. You can clearly see that 2 is describing the modern scientific method. So 2 can't be away from 3. It won't make sense. 3 introduces scientific method. 2 explains what scientific method is. 1 brings in commercial fusion power. And 4 tells you that commercial fusion power is not possible without the scientific method. So look at it as a flow. This is where the flow of ideas comes in. 3-2-1-4 is the best flow. Okay. And similarly, Rahul, you're saying that you saw 3-4 as a sequence. Okay. Understand. Rahul, think about this. You're saying that the greatest of all inventions is the modern scientific method. What is this invention talking about, Rahul? This invention is referring to commercial fusion power. Right? If this invention is referring to commercial fusion power has to come in, right? So 4 can only come after 1. Hence, that's not possible. Okay? Alright, people, let's move on. Go for it. Last slot. Okay, again in slot 2, now as you can see, just to prove my point, right, that VA can be profitable. See, this was a little tricky. I understand that. This number 4 was a little tricky. Number 5 and number 6. Alright, out of these 3, 1 is definitely manageable. Okay, maybe 6 is manageable. Some of you will find 5 manageable. So slot 2 was a little more difficult in terms of para jumbles, but you could have at least gotten 3 marks out of 9, if not 6. And maybe in slot 2, the odd ones out and para summary were easier. Okay, so VA was very profitable in 21. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, let's move on. Number 7, slot 3. This was my slot. Go for it. Yeah, Vivek, you're absolutely right. Para jumbles need, any question on verbal ability needs a lot of practice. So first you understand the strategy, then you do a ton of practice. Okay, you have 2 months roughly. You can easily practice and you'll get it. Now, when I say ton of practice, at this point in time, I tell people that you should be doing 3 to 4 RCs and or 5 to 6 verbal ability questions per day. And or 3 to 4 RCs and or 5 to 6 verbal ability questions per day. If para jumbles is your Achilles heel, do 4 para jumbles per day. Now multiply that by 60 or 50. How many do you have? 200 para jumbles? Amazing. You'll be an expert. You do 100 para jumbles, you'll be an expert. 60, 70, you'll get in 30, 40 para jumbles, you'll start getting the hang of it. Practice. Now, when you know the strategy, now just go all out and practice. Okay. Oh, this is a nice one. I remember this. I got quite excited in the exam when I was able to solve it. It's a good one, people. Let's try and get this right. Okay. Follow the strategy. Step 1, 2, 3. Confirm your answer. Let's try and get this right. Okay. Okay. I'm getting a few answers. I'll wait for maybe two more answers and then I'll start discussing. Okay. Okay. All right. These are some of the answers that I'm seeing. Okay. All right. Let's look at this. Businesses find automation such as robotic employees a big asset in terms of productivity and efficiency. Okay, fairly generic statement, can be a starter statement, right? Businesses find automation such as robotic employees a big asset in terms of productivity and efficiency. Robotic employees, okay? But in recent years, that means it can't be a starter statement. Unlikely, very unlikely. But in recent years, robotics has had increasing impact on unemployment, not just of manual labor, as computers are rapidly handling some white collar and service sector work. Okay, you can see that two will come after one, because one says robotic employees are a big asset for business, but in recent years robotics has had increasing impact on unemployment. So you can see two comes after one. This is not a starter statement. We've probably identified a link there as well. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 3. For years, politicians have promised workers that they would bring back their jobs by clamping down on trade, offshoring, and immigration. Very generic statement, nothing to do with automation. You can see that 1 and 2 talks about automation, 3 is not even talking about automation. It's a totally different topic. Very generic, can be a starter statement. Economists, based on the research, say that the bigger threat to jobs now is not globalization but automation. Now connect the dots. Is there a connection between 3 and 4? Yes, there is. Because 3 tells you that politicians have promised workers that they would bring back their jobs by clamping down on trade, offshoring, and immigration. All these 3 things are talking about globalization. They are connected to globalization. 4 tells you economists, based on the research, say that the bigger threat is not globalization but automation. 3, 4 is definitely a sequence. Politicians have been promising, right, that they will curb the threat of globalization. That's what 3 is telling you. 4 tells you that economists think the bigger threat to jobs is not globalization but automation. 4 brings in automation to the discussion. Right? So 3, 4 has to come in the beginning, followed by 1 and 2. We already discussed that 1 and 2, between 1 and 2, 2 has to come after 1. Okay, so 3, 4 is a sequence, 4 brings in automation, you need that before 1 and then 2. The answer is 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, now people, you have to, don't worry if you're getting this wrong at this stage. This just means that you need practice. Okay, do your strategy. Now, did you give me 3, 4, 2, 1? No, you give me something else. But anyway, so do the strategy, confirm your answer in the third step. This was a manageable question. With practice, you can easily get this right. Okay, so keep practicing. Why 1, 2? Ananya, 1 says businesses find automation a big asset. And 2 says, but robotics has had impact on unemployment. So it's giving you the contrast. Businesses find it very useful. But the flip side to automation is that robotics causes unemployment. So it's the flip side, right? Advantage of robotics from the business perspective, disadvantage of robotics from an employment perspective. That's why they go together. Okay. Why not 3241? Why not 3241? Okay, let's look at this. So you're saying 3241 instead of 3412. Okay. Okay. All right. 3241. 1 second. So 32. Bigger threat to jobs now is not globalization but automation. Business find automation. Okay. All right. I'll tell you, Ananya, why it's not. No, not Ananya. Sanskriti. Why it's not 3241. Sanskriti, it's not 3241 because 41 or rather 1 2 is a sequence. That but there in recent years that closely attaches to 1. Okay, hence you need 1 2 as a sequence and 3 4 as a sequence. So then you have to rearrange it. That's why it can't be 3 2 4 1. Okay, all right. Let's go to question number 8. Yeah, this is a tricky one. This is probably the trickiest among all 3 slots. I said first one was the trickiest. I think this one was the trickiest, followed by that one, that the first one that we saw in slot 1. Your head is going to spin a little bit in this one. Okay, but try it. Harsh says, is it not a good idea to also look for the closing statement, as sometimes it might be an evident one? Yeah, Harsh, that's a good idea. You can keep that in mind. Sometimes the closing statements, like concluding statements, they summarize the whole thing, or as I said, they might bring in another angle, right? So yeah, you can look for those indicators as well. It's not a bad idea. Wow, I got an answer very quickly for this one. Okay, let's see. Anshul is saying 2314. We'll see. This one is dense. The sentences are difficult to understand. It's an abstract topic. It's long. I didn't do this in the exam. I skipped it. I couldn't do it. So in 30 seconds or 45 seconds, I punched in something. I move on because in TTA I don't leave. There's no negative marking. So I couldn't make head or tail of the sentences in the exam. So I was like, I'm not spending time on this. Punch something, move on. I think this is the one that I got wrong. But of course, there's no negative marking. Abhishek, I completely agree with you. This is the most difficult one. Most difficult Para Jumble in 2021, followed by the first one that we saw in slot 1. And folks, this will happen in Para Jumble. See, typically what will happen is one Para Jumble will definitely be very difficult. Okay? 2 can be manageable. Of course, sometimes 1 can be only manageable. So, but 1 will definitely be manageable. There are chances that 2 will be manageable and 1 very difficult. So of course you have to attempt all 3, but the very difficult one you just spend 30-45 seconds and you move on. Punch something. Okay, so Anshul is giving the rationale as well. All right. Okay, let's see. Let me start. So Anshul says it's 2314. Okay. Shubhankar is 2314 or 41. All right. Nishant 2314, Tariq 2314. You guys are agreeing with it. Akash is also agreeing with that. Vasu says it's 2314. You guys are agreeing with. Okay. Shweta has a different answer. Shweta says it's 2134. Jyoti says it's 3421. Vivek says 1432. Garima says 2314 and Mustafa says 2314. Okay, a lot of 2314s. All right, we'll see. Now, 1 second. Okay. Very, very complex sentences, right? But of course, in case of complex sentences, what we do is we try to look for clues. Okay, I wasn't able to understand these sentences in the exam because it's abstract, right? Didn't have the time. So you just look for clues then in that case, and don't spend too much time on a very difficult question. Okay, all right. It is regimes of truth that make certain relationships speakable. Relationships like subjectivities are constituted through discursive formation which sustain regimes of truth. Wow, your head will start spinning. My head was spinning. So it's talking about relationships and regimes of truth. Okay, all right. Can it be a starter statement? Possible, possible. Okay. Number two, relationships are nothing without the communication that brings them into being. Interpersonal communication is connected to knowledge shared by interlocutors, and scholars should attend to relational histories in their analysis. Wow. So it's talking about relationships. Okay. This is also talking about relationships, but it's also talking about regimes of truth. I'm just looking for clues here. Okay. Two talks about relationships. Two is a very generic statement, isn't it? It says relationships are nothing without the communication that brings them into being. Then one is also talking about regimes of truth. So one seems to be bringing in regimes of truth in addition to relationships. So between 1 and 2, what is a better starter statement? Maybe 2 because it's broader. Okay, I'm just looking for clues here. All right. Okay. A Foucauldian approach to relationship goes beyond these conceptions of discourse and history to macro level regimes of truth as constituting relationships. So this is also bringing in regimes of truth. This is also talking about relationships. Okay. So again, this gives you an indication that 2 might be the starter statement between 1, 2 and 3 because 2 is only talking about relationships very broadly. 1 and 3 are bringing in that regimes of truth. You're getting my point? So 2 is probably the starter statement here. But let's see. Reconsidering micro practices within relationships that are constituted within and simultaneously contributors to regimes. So this also brings in regimes of truth. 2 is the only one that's not bringing in. 2 seems to be very generic as well. 2 is our starter statement. Okay. Now let's figure out what other links and sequences that can we figure this out here. Okay. So here it says relationships are nothing without the communication. Okay. A Foucauldian approach to relationship goes beyond these conceptions of diverse and discourse and history to macro level regimes of truth as constituting relationships. Okay, 1 second. It is regimes of truth that make. Okay, so it should be 2, 3, 1, 4 if I'm not wrong. Yeah, okay. So see, you have your 2, which is relationships. Okay, 1 second, people. Yeah, 2 talks about relationships, only relationships. 3 brings in regimes of truth. It introduces regimes of truth. Okay, 1 elaborates on regimes of truth. What do regimes of truth do? And 4 is the concluding statement that expands on 1. All right, so it's definitely 2, 3, 1, 4. Okay, it's difficult, but the clues that we can look for is 2 is the generic statement that only talks about relationship and communication. 3 brings in regimes of truth, introduces that. 1 says it is regimes of truth that make certain relationships speakable, so it elaborates on that. And then 4 expands on 1. So it's 2, 3, 1, 4. Okay, tricky one. As I said, I left it in the exam. Most people did leave it. So I wouldn't spend too much time on this unless until it clicks. For you, a lot of them, okay, for a lot of you seem to have given an answer pretty quickly. So maybe it clicked for you. So definitely in that case, go for it. Yeah, Chandu, absolutely. From macro to micro behavior. Great, Nishant. That's a good flow. Absolutely. In theta, there is no negative marking. You should definitely guess and put anything. There is no negative marking. That's what I said. So in this question, I must have spent 30, 45 seconds. I figured out I can't do it. I looked for clues, put in something, moved on. So definitely attempt theta questions. Okay. Finally, let's do this one. This is manageable, folks. Let's close this on a high note. We'll get this right. Okay. Go for it. And if you've not liked my session, please like it. Okay. If you're finding it useful, if you're not finding it useful, feel free to dislike it. I'm okay with that as well. Okay. Any reaction is fine. Okay. But yeah, and subscribe to our channel, folks, if you haven't subscribed yet. We do Blitzkrieg every Sunday. Usually it's quant. Today I took over. I'll actually do more Blitzkriegs for para summary and odd one out as well. And then we're left with slot 3 RCs. So we'll discuss that as well. All right, people, before we finish this, so if you're a 2022 student, okay, I think my team has already messaged that we have a self-paced crash course. Okay, now what we've done is today we've added arithmetic classes to that. So if you enroll for a self-paced crash course, of course, you get the entire CAT curriculum in the form of recorded videos, you get mocks, you get GDPI training, all of that. Plus, you will also get live classes for arithmetic. So we'll cover the entire arithmetic curriculum in live classes in October. Okay, so that's like a bonus to the self-paced crash course. And it also includes 6 advanced classes, 2 for quant, 2 for VRC, 2 for DLR. And there's 1 quant live workshop as well. But the main thing is the arithmetic live classes. So it's available at 9,000. You can register using the link below. It's a great option. Okay, think about it if that's what you need. Oh wow, Aryan, you're asking me the college preference in NMAT form. Aryan, I don't know. I don't know. If you're a 2IM student, Aryan, just ping me. I'll figure it out. But NMAT, NMIMS Mumbai is their flagship school, right? That's the best one. But honestly, I don't know much about that, so I won't be able to comment on that. Yes. Okay, Rajesh is telling Chandu that you can take a punt, no risk attached to it. Please, folks, if you don't listen to me, that's fine. Please listen to Rajesh. Okay. All right. Theta is, there's no negative marking. Like, go crazy with it. Right. But don't spend too much time on theta. Remember one thing about theta. There's no free lunch in this world. Right. If theta doesn't have negative marking, so theta is obviously going to be more difficult than MCQs. Right. So don't get stuck on theta questions. Right. 2 minutes is the guideline that I've given you. Max 2.5 if you're close to the answer. But we're spending 4 minutes and getting the answer wrong. There's no point. It's lost, right? So yeah, do it quickly, punch in something, move on. All right. Okay, awesome. Let's do this last one. One second. Okay. What does it say? Yeah, this one also got me a little excited in my slot. I was very happy. I was like, I'm getting this. Okay. Restitution of artifacts to original cultures could face legal obstacles as many Western museums are legally prohibited from disposing of their collections. Okay, fairly broad statement, can be a starter statement. This is in response to countries like Nigeria, which are pressurizing European museums to return their precious artifacts looted by the colonizers in the past. This is in response. What is in response? We don't know. Can't be a starter statement. Okay, all right. Museums in Europe today are struggling to come to terms with their colonial legacy, some taking steps to return artifacts but not wanting to lose their prized collections. Very generic statement, can be a starter statement. Do you see a link here? You could have probably, at this point in time, you would have, could have, okay, this is right. Every time towards the end of the session, when I start getting tired, I start blabbering. So apologies for that. There is a sequence here. 2 is after 3. So 3 says museums in Europe today are struggling to come to terms with their colonial legacy. Some are taking steps to return artifacts, but they also at the same time don't want to lose their prize collection. So they are stuck. Now they are taking steps to return artifacts. Now, what is this in response to? Why are they doing it? This is in response to countries like Nigeria pressurizing them. So 3-2 is definitely a sequence. Okay, so that this is in response. Okay, needs a precedent, which is in 3. All right, so 3-2 is a sequence. Then 4 says legal hurdles notwithstanding. So notwithstanding is in spite. In spite of legal hurdles, politicians and institutions in France and Germany would now like to defuse the colonial time bombs and are now backing the return of part of their holdings. It's talking about legal hurdles notwithstanding. It needs a precedent, which is in 1. 4 says in spite of legal hurdles. And that legal hurdles has been introduced in 1. So 1, 4 is the sequence. Hence, the answer is 3, 2, 1, 4. Okay, there's a natural flow there. All right, manageable question. Of course, follow the 3-step strategy and you'll get it. All right. Okay. Now, perfect. Folks, so that's the end of this session. Very quickly, I've spoken about the 22 crash course. If you're a 23 student, we have a discount that's running till tonight. You can get to up to 5,000 off on our courses. So 23, start early so that you get enough time to master the basics. All right. And finally, sorry, I'm going back and forth, but we also have a Telegram channel. Okay, this is a link. You can join our Telegram channel. We keep posting a lot of updates there as well. All right, great, awesome. So I hope I hope you come out of the sessions, stronger in Para Jumbles. Don't neglect verbal ability. Para Jumbles, you can squeeze in 6 marks out of 9. Remember, around 36 is your 95th percentile. It's a general guideline. This can differ, okay, based on the complexity of the test. But around 35, 36 marks is your 95th percentile for VRC. 6 out of 36 is 1/6 of your score. It's a lot. It's a lot, okay? So go for it. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. Sanskriti, I will go back. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten, okay? People, stay back if you want to discuss, what do you call it, session. I'm blabbering. Stay back if you want to discuss some questions. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to leave. Don't forget to like this video. Okay, I hope you found this useful. All right, now Sanskriti wants to go back to 7th one. Okay, let's do that, Sanskriti. Awesome. Sanskriti, what's your question? Tell me your question in the 7th one, or do you want me to explain it again fully? Okay, it'll take a while for for me to get Sanskriti's message, so I'll start explaining this. All right, what does it say? This one, right? Okay, this is question 7, right? Okay, businesses find automation. When are we doing 2020 CAT RCs? Harsh, 2020 is already on YouTube. Okay, so if you go to our channel, you will find a playlist, Harsh, for 2020 RCs. Okay, so I've already done that completely. So you can go through those videos. And if you have any questions, put them in comments. Okay, I'll make sure to get back to you. Okay, hold on one second. Sanskriti, I'm very much confused in 3241. Okay, great. Let's talk about this. So see, Sanskriti, you're saying it's 3241, right? Whereas the answer is 3412. Okay. So your answer is 3241, whereas the correct answer is 3412. So what are you messing up? Okay, so 41 you got it. You got that sequence correct. You got the starter correct. Very good. So Sanskriti, your basically step number 3 of the strategy, you should have done a versus, or actually your versus is this: 3241 versus 3412. Okay, you've misplaced 2. That's the only mistake you've done. All right. Can be connected to 3rd as well. Okay. All right, Sanskriti, let's do this. So, starter, we agree. For years, politicians have promised workers that they would bring back their jobs by clamping down on trade, offshoring, and immigration. Okay. All right. If I put 2 here, it says, but in recent years, robotics has had increasing impact on unemployment, not just of manual labor, as computers are rapidly handling some white collar and service sector work. So 2 is talking about the disadvantage or the downside of robotics, right? Okay, and your point is that 2 can come after 3 immediately. Okay, one second. Okay, I get what you're saying. But Sanskriti, think about this. What is 3 talking about? 3 is just saying that politicians are trying to reduce or at least are promising to reduce the impact on jobs of globalization. Right? Now, they're just talking about jobs here, Sanskriti, only jobs. They haven't specified what kind of jobs. They're just saying they've promised workers that they would bring back their jobs. Now, 2 talks about specific jobs. It says not just of manual labor, but also service sector work. It's not talking about jobs in general. Okay. So I get what you're saying, that, like, okay, there is a connection because it's jobs. But also try to understand this is just in general about jobs. This is about specific kind of jobs. It's going into that realm. So that's why 3-2 is not the best sequence that we have. I get the connection. But this specific jobs thing is making it a little difficult to be a sequence. So it's a link. It's a link, but not a sequence. Also, because we have a better option. So you have to pick the best option possible, right? So when you talk about the sequence with 3, when you connect 3 with 4, it fits beautifully. Because this is globalization. And then it says economists say that the bigger threat is not globalization but automation. So it is moving away from globalization to automation. Look at the flow. 3 talks about globalization. Okay. 4 moves away from globalization to automation. And 1 and 3 specifically talk about automation. So look at the flow of sentences. That's why 3-4-1-2 is much better than 3-2-1-4. All right. I hope you understand this. Okay. We have to have a certain flow. All right. Okay. Got it. Let's see. First one of slot 2. Okay. Ananya says first one. Vasu says first one of slot 2. Why am I? 1 second. One second, people. I hope the PowerPoint refreshed. Why is it showing this? Hold on. Okay, it did. It just didn't refresh for me. All right. You want to do the first one of slot 2 and the very first question, right? Let's do first one of slot 2 first. Let me see. Is this the one? Vasu, question 1 of slot 2. Okay. Vasu, what was your answer here? If you can tell me your answer, I can explain it. Okay, I don't know if Vasu is still there, but Vasu, when you respond, I can come back to this, okay? Ananya, first one, if you're still there, just let me know what was your answer in the first one. I'll come back to it, okay? Sanjeev is saying slot 3, last question. Okay, let's see that. Okay, slot 3 can also be 3142. All right. Yeah, Vasu will come back to your question. Okay, so Sanjeev, again, what you're doing here is you got the, yeah, I know, Vasu, I'm just discussing Sanjeev's question. I'll come back to your question. Sanjeev, you're saying that the thing that you misplaced was 2, otherwise everything else was correct. Okay, so you're saying why can't it be 3142? Okay, let's see. Museums in Europe are struggling to come to terms with their colonial legacy, some taking steps to return artifacts but not wanting to lose their prize collections. Okay. Restitution of artifacts to original cultures could face legal problems. Okay, 1 can go after 3. I get your point. Okay. 4 is also correct, but you're placing 2 at the end. That's where the mistake is. See, Sanjeev, 2 can't be placed at the end because it says this is in response to. What is in response to? You have to connect the dots. So 3 says museums in Europe are taking steps to return artifacts. They're returning artifacts. And they're doing this in response to countries like Nigeria putting pressure. Okay, hence 3-2 is the sequence. 3-1 is a link. The mistake that you made was you thought 3-1 was a sequence. No, 3-1 was the link. Then you discover 3-2 is the sequence, and then it becomes 3-2-1-4. So Sanjeev, what I would advise for you is do step number 3, do a versus. That should help you increase your accuracy. Okay. Politicians returning artifacts could also be a response. Politicians would like to diffuse the color now, backing the return. Yeah, that could be a response, Sanjeev, but again, 1-4, right? The problem is 2 can't move away from 3. Okay, it doesn't make sense because if you read 3-1-4 and then you read 2, the flow is not right. Read those sentences in that sequence, you'll figure it out. Okay, all right, let's see. Not this one. Question 1 of slot 2, Vasu's question. Okay, let's do this. Okay, Vasu, let's see. Question 1 of slot 2. I hope this is the one. Understand 2 is better as a SS, but the whole para is based on US-Canada conflict. Okay, so Vasu's answer was 1, 2, 4, 3. 1 second. Okay, so you got the 4-3 sequence right, Vasu. What you did was you reversed 1-2 with 2-1 with 1-2. That's what you did. Okay, so you're saying that 1-2 is better than 2-1. Let's see this. And what's your rationale? Understand that 2 is better as a starter, but the whole para is based on US-Canada conflict and all other statements focus on that. Based on this, should we consider the second statement as a starter statement? Seconds, based on that, should we consider the second statement as a starter statement? Okay, and the focus is on US-Canada conflict. I get that. Okay, great. So my question to you, Vasu, is if see, you're telling me that the 3 sentences 1, 3, and 4 focus on the US-Canada conflict, right, Vasu? That's what you're saying? 1, 3, and 4 focus on the US-Canada conflict. Okay, so if 1, 3, and 4 focus on the US-Canada, sorry, my camera just got misplaced. 1, 3, and 4, if they talk about the US-Canada conflict, then shouldn't they be together? Right? That's what I did, right? Basically here, these 3 statements should be together because they're talking about the US-Canada conflict. 2 is not talking about that. 2 is an introductory statement which says that how was Northwest Passage formed? And then Canada claims sovereignty over all the shipping routes through the passage. So that's why I'm just going by your explanation. 1, 3, 4 is better if they are a cluster. And 2 is the most generic one, so it's best to come in the front. Okay, that's the logic here. So actually you've hit the nail on the head. Your explanation is correct. Just that the answer is wrong. Okay, I hope that's it's clear now. Sorry folks, I'm a little exhausted, that's why I'm blabbering. So that's fine. Okay, sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between a link and a sequence. Harshak, I agree with you. It's not straightforward. Para Jumbles are not straightforward. Okay, so that's why, you know what, we go for a sequence only when we are almost 100% sure. Otherwise, we go with the thought that, okay, this is a link. Okay, and then in the third step, I'm going to figure out different combinations. Right, so link, you can be liberal with that. Sequence, only when you're almost 100% sure. It's not straightforward at all. But the more you practice, you'll start picking out these patterns. It becomes quicker. No, Vasu, it can't be the problem. It can't be the starter to the problem. Okay, your logic, the explanation, by that explanation, you're absolutely right. They should be clustered. And two is the most generic statement. So keep that in mind also when you're picking generic statements. Okay, all right. Okay, people, I think, yeah, I think let's call it a day here. Okay. Yes. So if you have any more questions, of course, if you're a 2IIM student, you know where to find me. If you're not a 2IIM student, feel free to post it in the comments. I check these comments very regularly and I will respond to you. Okay. So go for it. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much. And don't forget to like the session. Okay. We'll see you again I'll see you again very soon. And you'll see Amit or Raghu for the quant sessions as well. Okay. Bye.